That duplex across the street from me was about $800,000 in value, where the duplex, the rental I have, is only about $400,000, twice the price. Hey folks, Justin Cooper with Pine Financial Group, working together so you succeed. I want to take a quick second and talk about after repair values and valuing property. Now that's a really big topic and a lot that can go into it, but specifically I want to talk about location of comparable properties. Now this morning when I was waking my son Rye up, he was asking me, "Daddy, are you going to go to work today?" And yes. And what are you going to do? Well, we're going to shoot some videos. And so he wanted to see some. We got on YouTube and checked out one of them. So if you're on YouTube, if that's where you're seeing this, please be sure to subscribe, hit that notification button. We're also posting these on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, give us a like, maybe even a share if you get a lot of value out of this. But so when I was waking him up, Rye asked me, "What are you going to talk about? What's your video going to be about?" So I said, "We're valuing property and we're going to talk about location of comparable sales." So I talked about how when we're comping properties, we want the comparable properties to be very close to the subject property and not very far away. And it seemed like it clicked. He got it. What he said was, "Daddy, you don't want to be that far away." And I said, "Exactly." So I thought it was really interesting. Now, I didn't get into the nuances of this because he's only 5 years old, but a 5-year-old understands somehow that you want your properties to be very close to your subject property and not very far. Now, what really led to today's video was I had a client who had a property whose comps were 3 miles away from the subject property. Now, depending on what area you're in, how big the metro area is, maybe that's okay. Maybe your neighborhood is very large and 3 miles away could be acceptable. But for this one, it was actually in a smaller market where there are many neighborhoods. Basically, 3 miles was all the way on the other side of town, not the same neighborhood. So a couple things with this. First off, when we're looking for comparable properties, what is comparable? Bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, style of home, these types of things. But also we want to make sure that it's in a comparable neighborhood. We're looking for a distance away from the subject property. First off, we want to be within a certain tolerance. 3 miles is probably too far. So ideally we're within a half mile from the subject property. But we don't just draw a big circle around the property, right? Maybe that's how we get started to see how far out a half mile, maybe 3/4 or 1 mile is, depending on how many comps we're finding. But we want to stay as close as possible. But we're not just drawing that circle, okay? What we're trying to find is actually the boundaries of the neighborhood. So I was telling my son Rye that, we want a box, maybe a square. Now, he's getting pretty good at shapes and geometry. He told me that's not really a good square, Daddy, but that's what we're looking for. So how do we really figure this out? We're going to go to the map and find where are the boundaries of this neighborhood. So I was thinking about my property. I just sold a house, and right across the street was a duplex. And I own a duplex as a rental property, and it's about 3 miles away. So I thought this might be really interesting because laterally, we're only about 3 blocks away. But north and south, we're 3 miles away from each other. That duplex across the street from my house and the duplex that I own. And I'm in Denver. There's some major differences. The duplex across the street is in the Highlands, one of the hottest neighborhoods in Denver right now. The rental I have is in Southwest Denver, more working class neighborhood, very different neighborhoods. And so how do we know, what's the obvious signs if we're looking at a map? If we don't know the neighborhoods and the town this intimately, how can we tell where the boundaries are? Well, if we're only 3 blocks over, this left and right side maybe are very similar. For me, it's Federal and Sheridan Boulevard, okay? Those are the left and right sides of both neighborhoods, basically. But between the two, there's some major roads. Alameda Boulevard is a very major road. Generally, that divides neighborhoods all the way across the Denver metro area. 6th Avenue is an actual highway. There's on-ramps, there's off-ramps, no traffic lights, no stop signs. It is a highway between our two properties. Colfax is a major road that cuts through Denver. Basically, each one of those differentiates a different neighborhood. So we're 3, 4, 5 neighborhoods apart from each other. Even though we're within 3 miles, like my client was looking at, and we're only 3 blocks over, we're actually light years away in value. That duplex across the street from me was about $800,000 in value, where the duplex, the rental I have, is only about $400,000, twice the price within 3 miles. Both 2-bed, 1-bath per side, about 1,000 square foot per side for those duplexes. Very comparable properties, but because of the neighborhood, wildly different values. So I hope that brought some value. If it did, throw some comments down below. Again, give us some likes, hit subscribe. We'd love to chat with you more. Thanks.